Again. think it's time to start. Now we're going to start with the evening service. We're starting with the evening service. If you are sitting anywhere close and you haven't got a prayer book, you'll need one. So, you're all right? You'll either have this book or a smaller version of the Minyan. And in the big book, we're turning to page 2. Thanks. Page 2, the evening service. And the shul set up because, of course, it was very busy for Simchat Torah and Shmini Atzeret. We are called unto life, destiny uncertain. Yet we offer thanks for what we know, for health and healing, for labour and repose, for renewal of beauty in earth and sky, for that blend of human holy which inspires compassion, and for hope, eternal promising light, for light, for health and for hope, for beautiful, bountiful blessing, all praise to the source of being, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekor Nefesh Kol Chai. And the service formally begins on page 4, and we stand for the Baruch. Baruch et Adonai, Please be seated, and let's read together in the Hebrew, page 6. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'dvaro ma'ariv haravim, v'chochma poteach she'arim, u'v'tbuna mishanei etim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misadeh et kochavim, b'mishmorotehem b'rakir kirsono. Borei yom v'layla. כל האור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. הוא מעביר יום ומביא לילה, הוא מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel, by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, eternal our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. Never remove your love from us. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohel Amo Yisrael. And we say the Shema together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vayed. Va'ahavta on page 12 and following. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך hayom l'alvecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibat bam, v'shiftacha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shokbacha v'kumecha, ukishavtam leot al yadecha, v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת להם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בטיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את ניצות אדוני ועשיתם אותו, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם אחרי אליכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם, אני אדוני אלוהיהם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיהם. אמת. Page 15 at the top. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect. It is the song of God's miracle, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the generations to come. The song of the land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We turn the page. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ne'eda b'kodesh, נורתי לא תוסף אלי, מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקר ים לפני משה. ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאולו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. And for a memorial service, a Minyan, the evening service, the Hashkivenu prayer is very meaningful. It belongs as we think of the values of life itself. Page 18. Could we join together in the English? Grant, O God, that we lay low in peace and raise up our sovereign to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and our coming to life and peace forevermore. Baruch atah Adonai, Shomei Yisrael. The Hatzi Kaddish, and we rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rava, Yalmad yivrach Yerutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'hayachon v'yomechon, v'hayedachol Beit Yisrael, v'agala b'zman kariv, v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabam v'rach Yolam al-mel ma'ya. Yitbarach, yishtabach, yitba'al, yitramah, yitnaseh, yithadav, yithalel, yithalal, Shemei d'Kodeshah v'rivu. Le'elah min kol be'achata v'shirata, v'shmachata v'nechmata, da'amiran, v'yalma, v'yimeru. Amen. On page 23, the second reading. Within these walls we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history, our endless wanderings it has endured, a beacon of truth, love and justice for all humanity. In presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we in our turn come into this synagogue, this sanctuary, to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace, and we say, Amen. We may be seated, and we turn now on the prayer book itself to the essence of the 18 blessings. And so we move in our prayer book on to page 261. Holy One, grant us a quiet heart and help us to hear the still small voice that speaks within us. It calls us to come close to you, to grow in your likeness. It teaches us to do our work faithfully, even when no one's eye is upon us. It counsels us to judge others kindly, to love them freely. It persuades us to see divinity in everyone, in every year. Help us, O God, to come to the end of each day and each life, feeling that we have used its gifts wisely and faced its trials bravely. You know, standing at the graveside of the cemetery before Yontif began, we gave thanks for the life of a beloved woman, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. So it's a privilege to speak about Anne Starr at this sad time, because Anne was an extraordinary woman, and no one can do justice to her 103 years, 104 lived years of life. And obviously her family was the light of her life. And for many of us here, that life can never be the same. There are so many memories, and our sympathy is extended to Alex and Janet, to Robin and Rosemary, and then to Michael and Jane, Gary and Ilana, Jackie and David, Adam and Amanda, Simon and Sarah. And the family told me that on the door of her last room, she kept up to date the names of her 13 beloved great-grandchildren, and their names belong to this service: Joshua, Emily, Heidi, Amy, Noah, Maya, Ashley, Ellie, Sebi, and Lucy, Zohar, Isaiah, and Gabriel. What a mixture of names. And having remembered these names, Anne Starr would not have approved if this tribute time became too solemn, too sad, because she often said, "You've got to laugh." And so I'm going to stop these words at this time and ask Gary and Jackie if they come forward and make their contribution to our memories at this time.
I just want to make sure that Michael can hear it. He's watching up there. We wanted to say a few words about our beloved Gran on behalf of all the grandkids, including our partners. We got together on Sunday to share our thoughts. It's been a long time sharing stories and great memories, and here are just a few of them. Our grandmother was a unique person who had a deep influence on all our lives. Her approach to life, typified by her motto, as Rabbi Levi said, you've got to laugh, and her response to the question, how are you, which was always all the better for seeing you, made her a central figure in our lives. Whilst possessing strong views on many different topics and a more than passing familiarity with many of the world's intellectual debates, she was very open-minded and accepting of all of us, and noticeably changed her behaviour towards us in order to accommodate the new influences that we brought into her life. With the arrival of any new boyfriend or girlfriend, her response was almost always to instantaneously dismiss them as not worthy of her angels, usually delivered in a monstrous stage whisper. But in the next second, her gregarious nature and generous spirit kicked in, and she would connect with them, charm them, and wind up approving of them wholeheartedly. She quickly established a warm and independent relationship with all our partners over the years, often socialising with them one-on-one, on a one-on-one basis, which could have been the ballet, a movie, a meal, or a beloved game of Scrabble. If one of us wanted to confide in her or her in us, she would declare the conversation Monday morning talk. This meant we were in the cone of silence and that the conversation would need to remain within the four walls in which we sat. Insatiably curious and passionate about her family, she wanted to be invited to every single family event, no matter how small. Basketball games, school concerts, art exhibitions, birthday parties, anything and everything. She particularly loved the party and loved dancing and flirting with our friends after a sherry. She inculcated us with a sense of belonging and a love for Israel, which went beyond simple slogans, directly towards her genuine love of the earth there, the hills surrounding Rosh Pinah and the north of Israel, and the culture and people that sprung up from the countryside. This love of nature was evident in our frequent trips to the botanical gardens, where she would love to have afternoon tea, watch the swans and enjoy the blossoms. Nature also played a part in our holidays with her. She took each of the grandchildren away individually, and we also went away in larger groups. Her 90th birthday weekend away with all of us was one of many highlights. After an all-in family disco and eating her favourite food, pizza and hot chips, we interviewed her about her early life. Her recollections were fascinating for all of us, especially for the great-grandkids. We could really appreciate just how much she'd witnessed in her long lifetime. Her understanding of pharmaceuticals gave her, in her opinion, an inviolable charter to apply Unvita to any physical ailment or complaint. Many's the time one of the grandchildren was daubed in the vile-smelling fish paste to no discernible effect. Naturally, all of us use this panacea on regular occasion in our own houses.
Her high regard for literacy and open contempt for low Scrabble scores meant that we were all pushed towards a respect for the written word, and we all used to love a game of Scrabble, a glass of milk heaped with drinking chocolate, drunk through metal straws, followed by a toasted crumpet with tomato and one of her homemade sesame biscuits. Another early frequent Friday night custom for some of the grandchildren was raiding Grand's wardrobe and parading down the hallway with her bras and bloomers on their heads. She always had a laugh and took everything in her stride. Gran knew how to have fun and never took life too seriously. She had an earthy sense of humour balanced with a sharp wit and a healthy dose of sarcasm. She suffered fools to their faces but reserved her most acidic barbs for her famous stage whisper, often and perhaps intentionally within the direct hearing of the target. She could give it and she could take it. Her resilience and strength were typified by her 42 years of widowhood and the fact that only one of us could remember seeing her cry. Almost always cheerful and ready for action, rarely burdening us with whatever worries she may have had. In the last few years of her life, she would confess to not sparkling, but during this period she would also say, although I may not be sparkling on the outside, I'm sparkling on the inside. She had a genuine interest in each of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She always remembered when one of us had an important event, a school test, or some sort of job or presentation. She remembered to call and wish us luck and would follow up to see how we went. Every year she somehow remembered all our birthdays, 5 grandchildren and our partners who she counted as her own, and 13 great-grandchildren. Every time we came over, our photos were displayed prominently on her breakfast bench. If one of us chanced in when another was there, she would discover that the current grandchild's photos were now prominently displayed on the bench. A savvy political operator to the end, she made all of us feel very special when we were with her. Perhaps one of the contributing factors to Gran's longevity was her optimistic outlook and her almost permanent wearing of rose-tinted glasses. She would delight in seeing the beauty in a day, and if it was extra special, it would reach the pinnacle to be stored away as a golden day. This bulging vault would be returned to whenever she was feeling sad. She had many, many golden days with each of us, gatherings of us, and no doubt many of you too. In addition to all the high culture she exposed us to the wonderful books in her collection that she proudly loaned or gave us, or the bootleg cassettes of the MSO that she shared with us, illegally recorded by beloved Basil, she was also an animal lover. We were all taken regularly to the zoo with a special focus on the elephants, and in particular, any newborn baby elephants. Gran was a real person who sometimes got angry with us, got offended, and even offended us. But we had real relationships with her. They were personal and intimate, not an arm's length interaction with an old person. The same could be said for her great-grandchildren, who all adored her and loved her sense of fun and humour. She's been a constant presence in all our lives, and she will be greatly missed. Her memory is truly a blessing. And so I would like to share some other personal stories.
So I was just going to tell a couple of things about experiences that were quite formative for me with Gran. So when I was about 7 or 8, Gran wanted to buy me a shirt for the Chagim. So we got on a bus to the city, which seemed hours away to me at the time. The trip was a bit of a bust shopping-wise, but I did spy some sort of scrappy razor lying on the ground, and based on the assumption that it was rubbish, I picked it up and played with it on the way back to Sydney Street, Prahran. When we returned, Gran discovered me playing with the blade and interrogated me as to where I had found it and why I still had it. She insisted that we return to Myers in the city immediately, despite the fact that lunch was on the table. So we went back downstairs and got on the bus to the city again. The whole way, Gran remonstrated with me and lectured me about stealing, concealing stolen goods, arbitrage, and here my memory gets slightly hazy, and murder most foul. And when we arrived at the place I found the razor at, Gran made me inquire as to whom it belonged, and I had to apologise for stealing it to the appropriate person. It was tough and a quite uncomfortable turning point for me, and it certainly turned me off a life of crime, or at the very least, blue-collar crime. She didn't shirk letting me know that I had done the wrong thing, and I had to completely take it on the chin, and quite honestly, I've often thought of that when considering the right course of action. Some years later, when I was in Israel on Machon, and an extremely immature person, I wrote a letter to Gran, and I also wrote one to my other grandparents, Grandpa Phil and Gorgeous, and I accidentally put them in the wrong envelopes. The one that was to be sent to Grandpa Phil and Gorgeous was of the everything is fine, learning lots, how are you variety. And the one for Gran was filled with some rather lurid and off-colour descriptions of my liberated daily life. The results were predictably fairly grim, but Gran championed me throughout, despite presenting a public face of confusion and shock. She would often laugh herself to tears, recounting it to me, which was itself not an uncommon sight, but one that really emphasised for me that she never enabled me, but she definitely accepted and supported me through every stage of my life. And I always felt like I could tell her anything and do anything with her, and she would be completely cool about it and would express that with avid interest and curiosity.
Nice one. Right, I'm going to share two things. Firstly, an adventure I had with Gran that has within it lots of different details about how and why she was important to me. We often went to the movies, really only stopping when she became less mobile. One time, which was probably when she was in her early 90s, we went to Brighton Dendy. For reasons that are not important, I had a palace membership under the name Ellington Quizbiff. It was always stressful when I didn't have cash, because after showing them my palace membership card, I had to pay with my Visa card, which had my actual name on it. I was a little nervous that Gran would blow my cover, so on the way to the cinema, I had to let her know the state of play. After a little half-hearted outrage and disapproval, she was enthusiastically on board with the plan, and we were in the queue. Just as I was paying the cashier, Gran very ostentatiously said, "Elle, have you heard much about the movie?" She clearly enjoyed her Mata Hari cameo. When we were safely seated in the cinema, she told me that she preferred this name to my actual one. And secondly, some of you would know all of us have posted news on social media about Gran's passing, and we've been stunned by the outpouring of positive comments and reflections. And I just want to briefly mention a few. Firstly, a singer who I really don't know added a comment, "Geez, even I met her and I barely know you." But I found her immediately impressive and felt enriched by the brief encounter. She radiated a wonderful life force. Gran liked to make an impression, and usually did, with the many people she met. Another friend that I have seen once in the last 20 years wrote, "I remember you brought her to a party at my place years ago. What a lady, loved her instantly." Gran did love a party and would always work the room, making acquaintances out of strangers and friends out of acquaintances, all of whom may have potentially chauffeured her at some point. Finally, Gran wanted us to do our best. She also wanted us to look our best. And she also wanted everyone else to look their best. Another friend commented on Facebook, "I looked for her at all the frock gigs. I think of her whenever I am wearing my hair down and it should really be neatened up." And then she concludes with, "She was awesome." And she was awesome.
Continue this verse.
Adam and Simon, Gary and Jackie, thank you for really making us listen and laugh. And now we go into the memorial prayers, and I'd ask you to turn to page 575, Yiscor in the House of Mourning, 575. In the back of the book, little book, it's page 63, 575 in the big books. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offence to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see, we understand that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey from birth to death to life everlasting. We turn the page, Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsa, binot desher ya bitseni, al mei menuchat yenahaleni, nafshi yishovev, yancheni b'magle tzedek l'ma'an shemo, gam ki elech b'geitz ha'mavet, lo yira ra, ki ata imadi, shivtecha u'meshanatecha, hema yenachamuni. Taharoch lefanai shulchan neged surai, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed yirdufuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti bevet Adonai le'orech yamim. Would you join me in reading it, the translation? A Psalm of David. With God as my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You set me in circles of righteousness for the sake of your name. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod, your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forevermore. And on page 579, a poem written by a woman, a famous poet, who lived beside Yam Kinneret. L'chol ish v'yesh shem. Each person has a name. We each have a name given by God and given by our father and mother. We each have a name given by our stature and smile and given by our attire. We each have a name given by the hills and given by the walls. We each have a name given by the stars and given by our friends. We each have a name given by our sins and given by our yearnings. We each have a name given by our enemies and given by love. We each have a name given by celebrations and given by our work. We each have a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. We each have a name given by the sea and given by our death. Anne deliberately taught her family to rejoice in life. And she was, as you've heard, grand to a whole tribe. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and adopted grandchildren. She'd grown up in Melbourne as an only child. And again, as you've heard, her grandparents were pioneers, Halutzim, and had the first wedding at Rosh Pinah. And so throughout her life, she identified with Israel and with the Jewish people, her people. And here she would grow up, as so many Jewish children in Carlton and Coburg and Brunswick, over the shop. In the long run, it must have taught her self-reliance and resilience. She knew life was not always easy. She recalled that she was actually given a new dress on each birthday. but her parents were able to send her to Penley. She was a bright student, and again you heard, she studied pharmacy and graduated with the highest marks, next to the top. She married Basil Starr in 1936. He was a remarkable physician and a beautiful man, and one who had studied with top talent in Switzerland as a young man. And those 40 years of marriage brought her great joy and pride. In fact, in her latter years, she eventually chose to work at Alex's practice, standing at the front desk and getting to know those special patients, because she loved people, to meet new faces, to get to know them. And as she said, she was always the better for seeing you. There was so much to keep her busy. There was the group, her special friends, and of course she outlived them all. Her children's friends belonged to her. She had that enthusiasm for life. She loved to dance. She introduced her boys to music and to ballet and the arts. She taught them tennis. They told me she had a mean backhand and her drop shots were formidable. And she played tennis into her 90s. She enjoyed football, Scrabble, film and music and books. And she was an avid reader. An extraordinary life. She enjoyed Witso and the University of the Third Age. And everyone at Elie Monash seemed to know her. And her Friday night dinners were quite special. I was lucky enough to be at Kedim when she was honoured on her 100th birthday. I saw her coming in the front gate down the long drive in front of the Kooyong Road campus of King David. By the time I got to that front gate, she had already gone. She was already at the main house. She was young. She had set high standards. She, as you heard, brooked no nonsense, and she greeted life with a smile. So there are memorial prayers to be said and music to be heard. We turn now in our prayer book to El Melech Rachamim on page 582, and in the booklet on page 68. We rise. El Melech Rachamim, Shochem b'mromim, Hamtzem nucha tachat kanfei hashechina, im kedoshim u'tohorim, kazo ha'haraki amazhirim, lenishmat yakirenu shehalcha l'olama, bal harachamim yastireha b'seta kanafav l'olamim, v'yitzro b'tzroch ha'chaim et nishmata, Adonai v'nachlata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'noma. Amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to Anne Starr, who has entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest in the lofty heights of the sacred and the pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold her in the embrace of your wings. Secure her soul in eternity. O God, she is yours. She will rest in peace. And we all say, Amen. And we remain standing as we say, turn to page 598 and say Kaddish with the family. Yitkadal, Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Yalma Divrah Yurteh, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, והגלה בזמן קריב, במהרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם על מי המעיין. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קדושה בריאו. לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, לאמירון בעלמה במהרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיים והחיים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, במהרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, במהרו amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all who remember, and we say amen. Please be seated, because it's time for Adam and Simon to come up with those guitars. Are you going to get the great-grandchildren up there now? Yep. Okay.
So we wanted to remember Gran with all of the great-grandchildren and the grandchildren together. And so we thought the best way to do that was by singing a song, because firstly, Gran loved singing, not amazingly well, but she loved it. But the main thing was she loved us doing it. And she came to so many concerts that we did, and she came to so many concerts that Adam and I did, but I know she came to heaps of things that all the great-grandchildren did. And so we're going to sing this song for you now, all of us together. It's not like we hope you enjoy it. It's not the end of a show at all. It's really a tribute to her, and we're trying to send her her neshama along with some joy.
terrific. You want to leave something to the world? You've got a great choir. It's wonderful. Love doesn't die. So we just saw that demonstrated. And that's the end of our memorial service.
Over to